It's critical to have a clear vision of what you want to do and where you want to go and how you're going to do it. But don't forget to be patient to wait for the right opportunity. My guest today has an amazing story of how he got into his dream dental practice by waiting for the right moment to do it and not making a bad decision and rushing into anything. Welcome to the Socks and Soul podcast. Let's get into it. All right, welcome back to the Socks and Soul podcast, a podcast where we tell the stories of entrepreneurs and things that they have done to make their dreams come true or make their nightmares come true, perhaps. I don't know.
Scary.
So today we have a very special guest. This is my brother, Logan. Thanks for coming, Logan.
Thanks for having me. Glad to be here.
So Logan, he got his undergrad and then went on to dental school at the University of Washington.
Yep.
And they let him graduate, and they even gave him a dental license after that, or I guess the state of Washington did.
Yep. There's 2 D's in DDS.
Yeah.
So it doesn't take much.
And your middle name is David, so it's Logan David Ditto DD. That's a lot of D's.
LDDDDS.
That's confusing.
So
that's crazy.
I didn't get all D's in dental school, if you're wondering. So
if you get D's in dental school, do you pass?
Yeah.
D is a passing grade in dental school.
Mm-hmm. So
that makes me a little concerned.
Yeah. You want to be careful who you go see.
I guess so. So, you spent a couple of years out of dental school working for someone else.
Yeah.
And so tell me about your journey a little bit from graduating from dental school to working at Bright Now Dental, and then kind of what came next after that.
So, as fourth year of dental school is coming to a close, during all of fourth year, you're especially trying to figure out what you're going to do. Some people are specializing and some people just want to go out and work. And that's what I wanted to do. I didn't want to keep going to school. I was done. It had been 8 years of school by that point, and so I was ready to move on.
Some guys just love school.
Yeah, I don't understand it. I used to love school, and then I just kept going, and I lost the love.
Dental school cured you of your love for education?
Yep, it maxed out, so I was ready to be done. So, yeah, there's different options. People are looking at buying a practice or working for somebody else or going on to residency or different things, and I thought that maybe I wanted to own my own practice right away. And the more I looked at it and tried to understand the ins and outs of understanding how to purchase a practice and understanding the numbers and, not having to just rely on everybody else to tell me whether I should buy it or not, I thought, maybe I should just start working and earning some money first.
And you had a bunch of kids already.
Yeah, I had 3 kids by that point. So it was time to buckle down.
I mean, you had mouths to feed, dude.
Yeah, I did. I did have mouths to feed, and I was ready to stop going into debt to get education. So it was time. It was time to feed those babies and move on. My wife wanted a house, so there was stuff to do.
So you made the decision after dental school to just go find the best job you could and work.
Yep.
But
exactly.
The game plan in the back of your head was, I want to own my own practice one day.
Yeah. Yep, exactly. And I was not planning on it being very long down the road. But that was my ultimate goal, was to own a practice.
So when we, I think as a general public, we have we don't have a very good view or understanding of doctors in general as business owners, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we just assume that, if you're a good dentist or whatever, then you just go and you get your own practice and everything kind of does itself,
Yeah.
And it's really simple.
Yeah. And it's like the beauty of a dental practice, honestly, is it's a very safe and reliable business. You could be a terrible business owner and still succeed enough to live, comfortably as a dentist. So, and coming out of dental school, you don't know anything about business. They don't teach you anything. So, you have this idea that you can do it, and it's just, you're a dentist, so you must know how to do it. And, it's not like that. But that's what's so great about it. You don't have to be a genius to be successful on some level in a dental practice.
So was there no preparation in dental school in terms of how to run a business or run a practice?
Yeah, I would say more just kind of like one day you would have a lecture about how to operate a practice, and it was very cursory and superficial, and you didn't learn anything. And that was it, like a blip, one lecture, and that was it over 4 years. The more interesting stuff came from like lunch and learns when, brokers or other people came and gave us pizza, which we loved. So we would go and eat pizza and just listen to him talk, and then we would be done. So that was very educational from that perspective, but basically little to no education on that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
okay. So would you say you started working on your plan to have your own practice immediately?
Well, yes. I mean, I did research. I contacted companies. I started gathering information. I looked at sites. I knew I wanted to move to the Spokane area. And so, I was doing some stuff to try and figure it out. But it didn't take very long for me to realize that I didn't know what I didn't know about the business of dentistry. I honestly didn't really know much about dentistry until I became a dentist. Some people grow up, their dad's a dentist, their uncle's a dentist, everybody. And so they know everything, they know a lot about it, but I really had no idea what I was getting into. But it worked out. So yeah, that I was coming up with a plan, but the more I looked at it, the more I was like, I just need to get a job somewhere. I need to get some experience under my belt. And so then at that point, I kind of transitioned to looking at jobs. And that was also challenging because, you have this, at that point, you had a lot of single practitioners who had their own office, and they thought, I want to bring in an associate. So I would go in there, and they didn't really have a great plan for adding an associate. And so it was like, yeah, you can, you'll have some new patients, and you'll get to see them, and you get to do whatever you diagnose, and great.
And just for our listeners, when you talk about an associate, what you're talking about is a small practice owned by one owner, and then he has other employees, that work in there. And then an associate is another dentist that you bring in who is not an owner.
Correct.
So you're just an employee of his.
Yeah.
But they structure your pay in so much that you basically get paid on the procedures you do? Is that kind of how it generally works?
It's typical to get a percentage of the procedures that you do.
Okay.
That's common. There are some other ways it's done, but the most common is a percentage for how much you produce.
Okay.
So there's incentives to be at the office. There's incentives to work and be efficient, to be nice to the patients, to get them to come back, all that kind of stuff. When you have models when, people are just paid a flat fee, that the practice of dentistry changes a little bit. You don't want the patients to come in. You don't want to do as much as you can. You want to, let's just push it off because it doesn't look that serious because you're getting paid anyway. So, there's different ways to do it.
Sure. Yeah. Ways to incentivize you to bring business in and, stay busy and,
Yeah.
So, okay. So you ended up at Bright Now Dental, which is a national corporation. Right.
Yeah. At that point, they had like 300 offices around the country.
Okay.
And I found that, talking to other dentists and, who want to bring in associates, and I was trying to find a job, and maybe someday I would buy their practice from them, even though I knew that didn't work out very often. Working for just a corporate dental office allowed me the opportunity to have a lot of experience doing dentistry and to get a good paycheck and to know that I was going to, have the patients to see. And, but, sometimes, corporate dentistry in the dental world is generally looked down upon versus, the private practice and, that kind of stuff. I had a dentist tell me, I told him I was looking at working at Bright Now. He's like, you work at Bright Now, no one will respect you in this community.
And when he said no one will respect you, he was just talking about your fellow dentists.
Yes.
Because that's news to me.
Yeah.
As a consumer.
Yeah. Nobody knows that.
I mean,
Nobody knows the difference between dentists. If you are a dentist, everybody assumes you have the same skill set.
Right.
They judge you based on if you hurt them and if you're nice to them. And, for good or for bad, that's just the way it is. And so, and they have no measure for judging if you're a good dentist otherwise.
And that's a great point. I mean, in general, we think that way about all medical practitioners.
Right. Yeah, that's
because it's like, well, he's a dentist. They all went to the same schools and they all got the same education. So,
or any professional for that matter.
Yeah, your mechanic, you know, kind of the same way, I guess.
Exactly.
But yeah, I think that frequently is the case when we talk about, our dentists for sure.
Yeah, yeah, and
so you fought it, man. You were like, I don't care. I'm gonna go work for the corporation. I'm not afraid of that guy.
Yeah, I was like, I can learn a lot of good stuff working in this environment. I see a lot of patients, and I can try and understand how they run their business.
Yeah.
And if you know anything about corporations, they are usually very efficient at how they run. They know what they're doing. They have systems in place. And I knew I could learn a lot from that.
Well, and, if nothing else, you got to decide while you were working there about the type of culture you were going to create when you did own your own practice.
Yeah. Yeah. Just because I was going to work there didn't mean I was going to do that forever. And, I had knowledge I needed to get, and it was a great experience, and I enjoyed working there. There were great people that worked there. I mean, people are people, no matter if they work in a corporate office or a private practice. Everybody's trying to do the best for their patients. Mm-hmm. So, that mentality of looking down, doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. Yeah. And in general, you've never been the kind of guy that cares a ton about what other people think about you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. It doesn't make sense to live your life based on what you think somebody else thinks about you.
I mean, just in general, he's not afraid to be pretty dorky. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Well, that's true. I mean, I had a little brother that I had to, guide and steer and try to make him turn out to be a good guy. But
well, you failed.
The jury's out.
Yeah.
The jury's out. But,
okay. So how long did you spend at Bright Now, and tell me about how you got into private practice from there?
So I was at Bright Now. I ended up there about 2.5 years. And, after I had a 2-year agreement with them, so I knew that I was going to be there at least that long. And so, probably a year or before that agreement was up, I started looking at practices and looking around. I was like, okay, I'm going to buy a practice. And then I got a call one day from Julia's cousin, my wife. He and his dad, who is my wife's uncle, had a practice in Coeur d'Alene. And he said, hey, want to have breakfast or something and chat? I was like, okay, random. And so we did, and he talked about how their associate was going to be moving to Montana, and they were looking for someone to replace.
So this wasn't on your radar at all?
No, I knew about his office. He has a very successful office, and I had seen him at family functions periodically, and so I knew that office was there. I had never thought that I would work there or anything, but when we talked, I thought this could be a great opportunity because the senior doctor was very successful at running the business of dentistry. And I was like, well, this would be going from one associateship to another associateship. And I was like, that wasn't what I wanted to do. But as I talked about it with Julia, it was like, you can do anything for a year, right? And even though it was a long commute for me, it wasn't too bad. It was probably, it was like 40 minutes, which in this area is long, right, where we live. Some people would kill for that, but
you were just south of downtown Spokane.
Yeah.
And so now that meant you were commuting to Coeur d'Alene, Idaho.
Right.
So down the freeway and then down to downtown, basically downtown Coeur d'Alene.
Yeah.
So 40 minutes each way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so, Julie and I drove it, and we tried to drive it in rush hour, and different things, and you're just like, it's not that bad, and this is an opportunity to learn from somebody who really has lots of experience, knows what he's doing. That practice he had started, he had a very successful practice in California. He decided to sell it and move up to Idaho and start from scratch that practice. And he grew that practice very fast. The first year it did, like $1 million. It was a really good practice. So I saw it as an opportunity to learn what I could learn. And I told myself I would stay there for a year. I don't know if they were planning on that, but
so your idea behind, so when you went into this, were you going into it thinking that you were going to become a partner in that practice, or were you just saying, well, I'm just going to associate for a year because I want out of right now?
Yeah, I had no possible, no future thought that I would be a partner in that practice.
Okay. Oh, interesting.
So I'm ready for a change of scene, to learn new things, have different opportunities. And so I thought, okay, that's what I'm going to do.
And you hadn't found a practice that you wanted to buy at that point.
No.
You weren't ready to do that.
I mean, there were some available. Yeah. But I decided that would be a better experience for me, because once you buy a practice, you're locked in.
Oh, sure.
I mean, you can always get out of it, of course. But once you, take out a huge loan and you do all that stuff, you're committed for a long time. And so I wanted to do it right. So I would rather push it off a year to get the right location, the right office, the right spot, than rush into something.
It seems like a long time then. Yeah. But looking back, yeah, it's like a blip in time.
Yeah, exactly. It's not very long.
So you exercised a little bit more patience, waiting for the right opportunity, before you just, because you like you said, you could have just taken a loan and bought a practice and gone on with it.
Yeah.
And probably been fine.
Yeah.
But instead you decided to take this opportunity.
Yeah. Cause I think a lot of people, when they're looking to do things, kind of rush into things first and then try and figure it out. And that's not the way I operate. And that's never worked very well for me. And so I'm the kind of guy who has buyer's remorse if I buy something and I didn't research it to the hilt, which can be frustrating. But so
you sound like an annoying consumer.
Yes, very annoying. But usually the research is on my own time. And so when I go in, I know what I want. And it's, I don't need a salesman for a whole bunch of time. But yeah. So yeah, that's what I did. And it was good.
Okay. So, after that year is up.
Yeah. I learned a lot of good stuff there. It was a good experience. I tried to get involved in, kind of the business side of it as much as I could as an associate. And then, not long after my year was up, or about that time, the senior doctor, decided he was going to retire and go on a mission. And so I was like, all right, I had been looking at practices.
And he had a partner at that time, right?
Yeah. So him and his son
and that's
were
partners.
partners.
So they were 50 partners in this deal.
Exactly.
Okay.
And I was the associate.
Okay.
Yep. And I, so I basically was like, I was in the office talking to him one day and he was telling me how he was going and stuff. And I was like, well, I might as well just, it's not always good practice to just come out and tell your employer that you're planning to leave. But I just said, you know what? I am planning on buying a practice. I'd love for that opportunity to be here. But if not, I'm looking for a place to go.
How long into your year? What was this after a year?
This was about a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you guys hadn't had any conversations prior to this about buying the practice?
No.
That had never even come up?
No. But the only reason I said that was because I knew he was retiring and stepping away. So I was like, either he's going to try and hold on to ownership and then blah, 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 come back or whatever, or he's going to sell it to his son and just have him the whole owner or whatever. And so that's why I told them. I was like, I would love for the opportunity to buy in here.
So you went in there and you said, listen, I'm either leaving or I'm buying.
Yes.
Cool.
That's what I told him.
Nice.
Yeah. It was
ballsy.
It was about a 20-second conversation.
What did he say?
He was like, "Oh, okay." I don't remember anything after that. But I mean, I was in the middle of seeing patients, and so I probably left. And
You just like stood there like,
yep.
okay, well, that's what I came here to say. So,
All right. Thanks for the conversation.
I'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah. So I think it was a shock to him because that was not on his radar as a plan. So yeah, and so it turned out that he decided that he would sell to me, and at that point, the conversations really were between me and his son, my future partner, to try and figure things out to see if this would work and stuff like that.
How was that transition?
That had some highs and some lows. You know, it was definitely challenging on a few. There's a few areas that are always challenging. But we got through it, and I knew it was a good opportunity, and so by a year and a half after starting there, so this would have been the fall of 2012. I bought out the senior partner. We bought the building together from the senior partner. He owned it solely himself. So John and I, my partner, we bought him out. And then we also hired an associate to replace me, or him, but
right,
to fill that new associate position.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And that started that.
And so here you are, basically 3.5 years after dental school, finally achieving what you had been looking for, which was to own your own practice.
Yeah. And really finally opening the door to the journey that I wanted. I mean, I accomplished that step in the journey of having a successful practice.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it felt good, even though I had a huge nut to crack because it was an expensive practice.
Mm-hmm.
But it was good. So
what was your philosophy then at this point? I mean, you spent a couple years at Bright Now under the corporate umbrella. You'd spent a year working under the senior partner who had lots of experience and ran an efficient practice.
Mm-hmm.
At that point, moving forward as a brand new business owner, what were some of the guiding principles as you moved forward with your shiny new practice?
Try not to break it. And try not to screw this up.
That's good. That's good advice for anyone.
Just maintain the status quo. That's really all I tried to do.
You're like, this thing's been humming along really good.
Yeah, I'm
gonna try not to run it into a pole.
Yeah, exactly. He often compared it to driving a bus, and he talked about driving a bus, and I was just trying to keep the bus on the road. I wasn't trying to take it up the mountains. I'm not trying to bob and weave through traffic and pass anybody. I just wanted to keep cruising down the freeway. Because if I could do that, at the point where I bought it, that would be amazing.
Because you looked at the debt that you just had to incur to get this bus.
Yep.
And you're like, okay, if the bus just does what it's been doing,
yeah, I'll be great.
We will arrive at our destination.
Yep.
And everyone will still have all their limbs.
Exactly. Yep. There won't be too much vomiting on the bus. No one will be fighting. It'll just get there.
What was the scariest part of that for you?
Oh, I mean, the scariest part was when you sign the banknote. That was a lot of money.
And banks will give dentists pretty much anything.
Yeah, that's true. When I got out of dental school, I was like, bankers would fall over themselves to give me money, And if you're not careful, you can get yourself in trouble.
And you probably saw some peers do that.
Yeah. And definitely, I mean, I got out of dental school with not too bad amount of debt. But my debt load was like $160,000 after dental school. I didn't have any debt after undergrad, so that was only dental school. My wife, she worked for a while, and then she didn't work much. We had 3 kids, so there was a lot to do at home, and so I thought we got out of it pretty good. I had colleagues, I knew people who got out with $400,000+ in debt at around the same time as me. So some people, I mean, there's a lot, and then they'll give you a house blown 100%, no money down, and then you buy a practice, so it's just one darn thing after another. And so you saddle yourself with lots of debt quickly.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to be careful that, and part of the reason they would give you, obviously the debt numbers for the practice are rated on cash flow and how good the practice does. And, okay, you're only moving one part, 2 of the 3 people that produce are still there, things like that. So there's a lot of factors that go into it.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, they're doing their valuation on their end. But like you said at the beginning, it's running a dental practice is still a very, very good bet. It's a very safe,
it's a safe
you don't have a lot of dental practices
generally
failing out there.
It's like 3%, I mean, what is it in the restaurant industry? Like 80%?
Oh, it's huge. Yeah. It's huge.
It's just, running a restaurant is a hard job.
You take any 10-year period and half of 1% of businesses are still around.
Wow.
Yeah.
Half of 1%?
Half of 1% survive 10 years.
Yeah. And 97% of dental practices are successful.
Yeah. It would be interesting to peel apart, that statistic and see how many of those businesses that survive are in the medical community and the dental community.
Yeah.
Because I bet you represent a significant portion of it.
Yeah, right. That's kind of a different ball of wax,
Yeah, for sure.
It kind of brings in another side of it.
So the stuff that you really worried about was just carrying this debt load and just keeping this practice moving.
Yeah. Yeah. And, at that point we had a staff of like 15 people, give or take something, maybe 12, something like that. And, we were open a lot of hours and, we were just humming along and it just, it continued to grow. And the growth has been the biggest challenge of the practice. And we always had a philosophy that if you were not growing, then you were getting smaller. So it's very difficult to stay stagnant. I've seen many practices that get to a certain point and they just kind of maintain the status quo. And then, at some point they open their eyes and are like, we're losing patients. Our practice is getting smaller. I'm not making what I used to make. You have to at least have some ability to grow a little bit over time, to kind of basically just to maintain the status quo. But so that's been the biggest challenge is managing growth from many levels.
And so in addition to continuing to learn and grow as a dentist, you also have to tackle this business procedure of how do we grow? How do we expand? How do we do that? So what has been your philosophy over the years in doing that? How have you accomplished that?
How have I accomplished the business side of it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you have grown significantly.
Yes. Yeah, we have. We've gone from, 12 or 15 employees, and now we have 50. And, we had one location that the first location, we've doubled in size, and then we've now added another location. And so it has grown significantly. But, I think constantly learning and also reevaluating your processes, talking to other people who are further along than you are, so that you can try and, stave things off before they become a catastrophe. Being aware and willing to change, that's key, because when you're 2 or 3 dentists, even one, but, in our case, we were 3, we had 12 to 15 staff members, and you're able to really control the experience because 2 of the 3 are owners, and actually the third guy became an owner not long after that. So we all had a vested interest in the success of the practice. And so we were able, you're focused on providing a good experience, really taking care of the patients. And so it goes from that, which when you were in it working on the business and your staff around you picks that up and they have that same attitude. But once you start growing to a certain point where you as the owner are not the principal interaction with that staff member anymore, they're principally interacting with an associate who, is a great person doing a great job, but, they come, they work, and they go home.
Yeah, he's a 9-to-5er.
Yeah, and if the business fails, he can go get a job somewhere else. His
name's not on the note.
Exactly. And so when it goes from, that smaller scenario to bigger, as you grow, you have to figure out how to still provide that patient experience that got you to that point, and so that you can continue to grow, so that you don't step backwards. I mean, one of the books that we've looked at and kind of read parts of and tried to understand, they talk about how most businesses get to 1 million in revenue pretty easily. Most are successful at that. Going from 1 million to 10 million, like less than 5% of businesses do that, because you have the scaling problem. Mm-hmm. And that's something that's really what we've been focusing on. You go from easily controlling things, not having to have processes, to that's really the main focus of a lot of our management time now, is developing processes and systems that are clearly defined and have accountability, so that everybody can be on that same, you have to have a mission statement. You have to have these things that convey what you believe to your staff. So,
I remember you when you were at Bright Now, kind of occasionally being critical of some of the culture and meetings that were going on, and all that is a result of the things you just said. You got 300 practices nationwide. We want to control the customer experience, so we need people to buy in, and they would have these meetings and things. And and some of those were a little off-putting to you, the way that they were set up. But I would imagine, even that being the case, a lot of that experience, helped you understand how you wanted to have that growth culture and manage that, now that you have kind of arrived at that point.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I'm not nearly the point they are, but yeah, exactly. A lot of what they did makes a lot more sense to me now than it did then. And I'm dealing with the attitude that I had then, on the other end of it now, so it's, having seen both sides of it, it's, can be challenging.
The karma bus is pulling up next to yours, huh?
Yeah, exactly. And it wants to let some people off and to get onto my bus. So, yeah, exactly.
And they're like, hey, sucker.
Yeah.
Remember all those staff meetings that you were rolling your eyes at?
Yeah, remember that?
We got some people that we want you to meet.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
What excites you the most about having your own practice? What is the part to you that is the most fun?
The most fun to me is still the patient care. For example, this evening, last patient of the day, we closed at 7. So I was there till, everything else was done. And there was this little old lady who came in, and she's probably in her 70s. And, from the conversation with her, she doesn't have a lot of money. But, listening to her biggest desire was, I want to be able to chew, and I want to be able to smile. That's what I want to do. And so, as a dentist, we're very procedure driven. Details, the details matter. I was just joking with a hygienist, or maybe it was, a hygienist this evening. That's like, called out a wrong tooth. I was like, oh no, it's the other tooth. And she's like, yeah, you probably can't just like get close enough and get it right. It's like, yeah, if you get one tooth over, you've, treated the wrong tooth. You have to be exactly right when you do stuff. And so you're very procedure driven, looking at the details. And sometimes when patients talk to you and, you see their x-ray and you're going through your head what the problem is, and you know exactly how to fix it. All right. In my head, I already had 3 options on how to fix her problem, but that's not really what she wanted to hear from me. She wanted to know, can I help her smile, and can I help her chew? And so
she didn't care about your treatment plans.
Yeah.
She didn't care about the details.
Yeah. She does, but if she's going to trust me, she has to know that I understand what she wants, And so I said, yeah, we can make it so you can chew and be healthy. She has some, GI issues that, make it so she's like, I really have to be able to chew well. Yeah, we can make you chew well. And I want to be able to smile and not, have these issues. Like, yes, we can do that. And then from there, we talked about a few options, and we honed in on one. And by the time we left, she was ready to go, I mean, this little old lady, she hadn't been to the dentist for many years. She's like, I brought in a client. She helps assist at like a retirement home or something like that. She had to get a job after her husband died and, things like that. And she said, I brought a patient in here. I haven't been in many years. She said, I thought, this is a good practice. I think I could come here. And so she came back. And so that's when I met her tonight. And then because she was willing to, because of that interaction where I understood what she was asking, she was willing before she left. She paid half of what she needed to do to get things going. It all wraps together. And so that's the thing I enjoy the most is the patient interaction. When it's good, it's not always good, but
I have a story about that.
Yeah. You have a bad patient interaction?
Oh, that I watched you deal with.
Oh, yes. I remember that. So making people, happy and, changing their lives from that perspective. So that's what I enjoy the most from that. And then after that, I do enjoy the business side. I enjoy managing. I enjoy the details, figuring things out. And, it's always a new adventure because we sit down in a meeting, a leadership meeting, and we have a list of issues. We're like, okay, what's the most important issue? We talk, all right, let's talk about that one until we figure out a solution. Then we cross it off the list. And we go to the next one if we have time, and we start working our way until our time's up and then we're done. Mm-hmm. And I enjoy doing that and coming up with solutions and working through the problems. And so that's exciting to me. And the possibility of helping even more people and creating an environment where we can have that experience I had with that little old lady, that all of our staff is having it with everybody who comes in through the door, So we're helping our community and, maybe someday reaching out to other communities and, doing that stuff. So that's what I enjoy.
That's the kind of answer you really want to hear from your medical practitioners.
Yeah.
I mean, full disclosure, Logan has been my dentist since he graduated from dental school. And he does mine and my family's, all of our dental work for free, which we can't even begin to tell you what that means to us. But that's the way we feel when we go in and see you. We feel like your staff, and maybe it's because our last name is Ditto, so they know who we are. But
yeah,
but the reality is, that's what we want. We want our doctors to say the best part of my job is getting people right. Chasing away their fears, letting them know, I can do it, and us being able to trust you. That, your years and years of experience, you've taken it very seriously. And now, now we're comfortable putting our health in your hands.
Yeah. And that doesn't mean I'm going to get it right all the time.
Right.
But because I'm committed to it, if something goes wrong, I'm going to make it right. And I think that's what you expect.
Yeah. Yeah. It certainly is. You told me, I think it was you. You told me once that running a business is like you show up to work, you got 100 things to do, and you got time to do 3 of them.
That sounds about right. I don't know if I said that, but that is true.
That when you're talking about your list and your management meetings,
yes,
it's just like, okay, yes. What are the SC top 10?
Yeah,
what are the highlights this week?
Exactly. We've got an hour. Let's get as many of these off. And every week there's new ones. And when COVID hit, you erase that, and there was a whole list of new ones. It's just crazy.
It just can change any day, any moment.
Yeah, and unless you are working on the business regularly, then you're gonna miss the boat. You're gonna crash your bus.
And that's and that point, that's why I've always just had this love affair with small business and small business owners. Through the years of talking to thousands of business owners of every kind, what I have heard, over and over is just like, man, they're going to kill our industry with this business. Or I hear people say like, oh, Amazon's going to shut down businesses or whatever. And I've always responded and said, but you don't know entrepreneurs well enough, because what entrepreneurs do that Amazon could never do is hit a 90 degree, boom,
Yeah.
just adapt on the fly.
Right.
And for no other reason than you have to.
Yeah.
You have to. Because your name, like you said, your name's on the note, man.
Yeah, exactly.
There is no plan B. We just got to make it work.
Yeah. Exactly. And, and thankfully, after a lot of years of hard work, I don't have that note anymore as of last year.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's a big deal, man.
That is a big deal.
That is awesome.
Yep.
That's a great feeling.
Yeah.
It's like the bus has been,
Now you're on cruise control.
You're not pulling it with a harness anymore.
Yeah. Now you have the the Mr. Fusion 2000 from Back to the Future installed on your bus.
Yeah, that's right.
So you never run out of gas. I don't know what it's like, but yeah, that was a good feeling.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And again, the patience and hard work and persistence to get there, just makes all the difference as you continue to move forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I don't remember how long it was. It was, I don't know, probably 7 or 8 years ago. Annie and I, we were going on vacation or something, and we had talked to you about teeth whitening.
Oh yeah.
And you were like, why don't you guys meet us in Coeur d'Alene and we'll do, your
Take
trays and do your impressions and everybody will be gone.
And you can make your own bleaching trays.
Yeah, right. Yeah. You're like, you can do it with me, and you can be your own dental hygienist or assistants or whatever. And then we were going to go get some dinner and kind of hang out. And so while we were there, we got there and nobody was there but you.
Yeah.
And, maybe somebody, anyway, they were all out the door. And then partway through doing our impressions, this old lady, I can't remember if she called or if she just showed up. She called first.
Yeah.
And she was mad. She was really mad.
Yeah.
Something about her tooth still hurting or something broke or I can't even remember what it was.
I remember what it was. Yeah.
And this was my first experience at your office.
Yeah.
Right. And you had been, and you had said multiple times, you're like, this is a great practice. Like our reviews are really, really good.
Yeah.
Like we continue to grow.
Mm-hmm. And then this. Yeah. Yeah. So one of the other doctors, actually the senior doctor, had done like 6 or 8 veneers on the top on this lady, and she was wearing temporary veneers.
Oh, yes.
While the permanents were being done.
Yes, that's right.
And so I guess they had come off, if I remember right. The temporaries had come off or broken or something like that. Yeah. And so she was like, she's like, everything hurts and I was like, okay, well, I can meet you at the office. I can head over there and meet you at the office. I think we had just eaten.
Maybe we ate first then we...
Yeah, we had eaten.
Yeah, that's right.
And then the call came in.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, well, I'm just finishing dinner.
And this was like a Saturday night.
Yeah.
I mean, this was like, the weekend was here, and you guys are open on Saturdays, but...
We weren't then.
But, you weren't then?
We weren't then.
Okay, so it was, it was going to be a couple of days.
Right, before the office was open again.
And you easily could have been like, listen, lady... we're not open. We're not gonna, we can't see you.
And I didn't treat the patient. It wasn't my patient.
Yeah. Well, she didn't care about that.
I was on call, but I wasn't. So I took the call because I was on call. Yeah. And she was like, she's like, well, I hope you enjoy it. At least you got to eat or something like that.
Yes, that's right.
And
she carried on with that attitude. So we went to your office and then she showed up and you were treating her by yourself.
Yeah.
And boy, she was just laying into you at every opportunity.
Yeah, exactly. And she had never met me.
Yeah.
She didn't even know me.
Mm-hmm.
She didn't even know that I was a dentist for sure.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, it was a weird experience. Her husband was there and he was a bit apologetic. At one point, because I had to numb her up in order to put new temporaries on her teeth.
Mm-hmm.
I understand she was in pain and I totally get it. I mean, I know what that is, and not personally, but I have treated thousands of patients. And so I know what that is. Right. And so, at one point I had to get her numb and she was not going to have it. She's like, I'm just going to wait till the weekend or wait till, till the permanents come in or whatever. And that wasn't going to be for a while. And I talked to her husband. I was like, she's going to be in a lot of pain. If she doesn't let me numb her up, and we don't get temporaries on there, she is going to be in a lot of pain.
If you want to live with Grandma Grumpy Gills, for another 2 weeks,
yes.
more power to you.
I'm sorry, and I kept I'm sorry that this happened.
You were very apologetic.
I understand your frustration. I know why you're mad, and I'm sorry that this happened. I didn't make her feel bad or anything, but by the end, her husband was very appreciative of what I did, and I don't know what happened to her. She was upset when she left. I think she was a little bit better. I think having numbed up, so she was out of pain and had veneers on again, and so that was a great on-call experience. I've probably only gone into the office like twice when I'm on call. It's very rare.
And that was one of them. You counted one hand in all your years of doing this.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, man.
And that's never happened to me again.
It was hysterical. You know? It was just like, I was like, so how's practice going, Lo? Going good, huh?
Yeah. You guys were in the lab working on your bleaching trays.
Yeah. Totally non-essential, cosmetic, fun stuff.
And I was trying to numb up this crazy lady, but
it was very entertaining.
Yeah.
Thanks for the entertainment that night.
Yeah, absolutely.
It was spectacular.
It was dinner and a show.
That's right.
Yeah.
It was everything we could have hoped for.
Exactly.
Well, man, thanks for coming in and telling your story.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're a huge inspiration for me. I'm super proud of you for everything that you've accomplished, and, humbled by your, willingness to take care of me and my wife and my kids. And, just can't thank you enough for that.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's been fun kind of walking down memory lane and reliving some, that stuff and seeing how things are different from now, from where I thought I would be.
So my last question is, I would like to understand this is called the Socks and Soul podcast, right? And the socks are representative of, these ideas that we have at our kitchen table and, our garage or wherever entrepreneurs come up with great ideas. I just want to know what your philosophy on socks is.
I do like a good pair of interesting socks. I wasn't always that way, but I have a crazy brother who gives socks to everybody for everything. So
he sounds awesome.
You start to build that up. And then one year, my staff, as a Christmas present, bought a year subscription to Sock Fancy. So this is one of the pairs I got. So every month I got a new pair of socks from Sock Fancy.
And none of them are just blue with a stripe. They're all kind of.
No, this is probably these are probably the most tame ones that I have. But but that really, that'll build up your supply of interesting socks. So yeah. So I like a good set of interesting socks.
That's probably why we get along so well.
Yeah. Actually, I had a patient the other day. She said, "Are you wearing are you wearing your, cool socks today?" I was like, "Well, no, I'm not wearing any socks because it's middle of summer." And she's like, I tell everybody I know that I have a dentist who wears cool socks. Because the first time I saw her, she saw my socks or whatever. And so there you go.
That is awesome.
Some people care about that.
Well, count me in.
Yeah.
Count me in.
Yeah.
Nothing like a good pair of socks. Well, if you want to join the conversation, feel free to comment below. If you want to check out Logan and his practice, it's Riverstone Dental Care. They have offices in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and also in Post Falls, Idaho.
Yep.
That's your second office you opened up. And if you have any questions, just fire away at us in the comments, and we'll see if we can answer it.
Awesome.
Thanks,
cool.
Logan.
Thanks, Kelly.
Thanks for being here. I appreciate it.
Yeah. It's great to be here. Thanks for the good time.
You bet. We'll talk to you next week on the Socks and Soul podcast. Thanks for tuning in.